Welcome viewers to another Copenhagen Middle-earth Battle Gamers video. I'm your host Rob, and today I'm going to be showing you a few of the miniatures that I've been working on over the last week. So let's have a look. So first up we have the Mouth of Sauron mounted. Painted in exactly the same way as I painted the miniature on foot, as you saw in my first video. Really cool model. I really like the sculpting of the horse. The guy, yeah, is okay, nothing special there particularly, but the horse I particularly liked. But there was a double reason for getting this model, and that is because I do not really like the model of the Witch King of Agmar on horse. So what I decided to do, I kind of thought a little bit ahead when I was getting my models, and when I got the what's it called? The Ringwraith on Fell Beast plastic box set, I planned on using not only the Witch King on the Fell Beast as a mount, but also to use this horse for that purpose, to save me a bit of money in buying the model of the Witch King on horse. And it works okay. The only issue with it really is the static pose of the horse. And the way that his robes are like waving around. So obviously it doesn't particularly work very good for that. I mean, it will work fine as far as like playing with the model. But I plan on getting some Morgul Knights in the future. So I'm thinking maybe one of their horses might actually be a little bit better, because I know the cloth on the horses also blows backwards as if they're running. And I think it will give a better effect for the model all over. But for now, it works quite fine. Next we have Faramir and Damrod. Really like these models a lot, just because the detail is superb on these sculpts. And I plan on getting some of the, what they're called, Rangers of Middle-earth eventually, so I thought when I use those it might be fun to have these models for fluffy purposes. Went for quite a bright colour scheme on these models. Any kind of leather tunics and stuff I would have painted in a Steel Legion drab, which then would have been washed in Agrax Earthshade and then re-highlighted again in the Steel Legion drab. Boots, gloves, and such I painted in Doomball Brown, and then yeah, again shaded in Agrax Earthshade and highlighted again in the first colour, Doomball Brown. And the cloth, for example, next to their legs, that I used Lauren Forest, again Agrax Earthshade, and again, yeah, highlighted with Lauren Forest. Yeah, so nothing overly special on the paint scheme there, you know, just using very basic colours. When I was doing the highlighting, I just made sure that the paint was quite watered down, so I could layer it, you know, just keep adding multiple layers. So yeah, once one finally dried, add another thin layer, etc, etc, and then it gives quite a nice effect. So you do get the transition from light to dark quite well by using that technique. And I don't really like spending my money on paint, so I always try and be as clever as I can with them, and I think that's one way that makes it work. I was pretty chuffed with the way that their capes came out. I don't really have a lot of experience with greens unless I'm painting fantasy or 40k orcs, and obviously they have a lot of detail in their skin, lots of deep recesses, so it's very easy to pick out all the high edges after a wash. But some parts of these cloaks obviously do have deep recesses, but they're also quite smooth, like further up at the shoulders. So I had a little bit of a tough time making the transition smooth, but I gave it my best go. So that is yeah, Faramir and Damrod. And the last two models that I painted this week is, of course, Gandalf the White and Pippin in armour. I think the profile's called Peregrine Guardian of the Citadel or something like that. Very fluffy little model, I thought. Obviously not the best profile, as you can expect for any hobbit, but I really like the model, and I think for fluff reasons, when you field Gandalf the White, it's pretty fun to have the little Pippin next to him as well. And you know, it doesn't hurt the points too much. He's very cheap for what he is, so it's never an issue really, I think. Pretty happy with the way they both came out. Sadly though, my white scar has completely dried up before I was able to paint Gandalf the White. So what I did is I sprayed him in a white undercoat primer. Gave all the cloth a layer of Ushabti bone, and then that had a wash of Agrax Earthshade, a very thick one, and then again using the Ushabti bone to lighten that up, just with very washed layers of that, so it's building up as best I can. I haven't put any kind of varnish on the model yet because it's not actually finished. I would like to give him some extra highlights, maybe of a mix of Ushabti brown and white scar when I get a paint pot of that. But for playing purposes right now, he's quite fine. So obviously I left the staff in the primer colour, and I was just a little careful when painting the face, so I didn't get anything on the white hair and beard. Just to give it a bit of texture, I gave it a watered down wash of Nuln Oil, just so it does, you know, pick out some of the details on his beard and hair. So I think I got kind of lucky with that. I haven't done anything like that before, just using a primer as the main colour. I'm sure you're not really supposed to do it, but you have to do what you have to do. And with Pippin, normal colour scheme on his tunic that I've done on Faramir and many of my other Minas Tirith models. His cape I painted in a mixture of Abaddon Black and Ushabti Bone. I think it was 1 part Abaddon Black to 2 parts Ushabti Bone or something like that. Just so I kind of had like a nice warm grey colour, and then that had a wash of Agrax Earthshade and yeah, highlight again in the mixture of Abaddon Black and Ushabti Bone. So yeah, again, happy with these little models. Really like them. Been wanting a Gandalf the White for a while. As you heard in my other video, I wanted to use the old Gandalf model to paint up a Gandalf the White, but as that didn't work out for me, I just figured I'll go out and buy a model that is Gandalf the White. It's, you know, it's still nice. So I did have the model with him on Shadowfax as well. I need to paint that up. I don't know when I'll get around to doing that, but maybe next week, who knows. Alright, so my plan for the week coming is to paint some Warriors of Minas Tirith. Got about 9 I need to paint up, and then I should be happy with the amount I have. That should be a sufficient amount. I got another 12 completely finished, so that should be more than enough, I think, for the kind of game sizes that we play on the channel. And this is just so you can see is what they will end up looking like when they're done. So you've got that blue colour there popping out, just so that the whole army is tied in with the with my generals and such. As I explained before in the other video, I didn't want to do them in that dark grey tone, just because I don't think it's that interesting for like visually on a playing board. So I wanted a bit of colour popping out on my Minas Tirith force. So yeah, hopefully I'll have enough time to get those done. I'll be starting a new job on Monday, which is quite exciting. So I don't necessarily know what kind of time frame I'll be working, and if I'll even have time to do any kind of painting at all. But we will see. I'll do my best, and we'll see how I get on in the next video. So, thanks for watching. Please comment, share, and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, and see you next week.